invested in the stories I have to tell, even though the first one was just to see if there was any interest at all. All the comments I received on my blog show me that you don't believe me, but you still find the story intriguing. Well, I don't really care if you believe me. I'm using this blog mainly to finally talk about all the things that have happened to me. You'd be surprised at how much my nursing home management cares about keeping everything from getting out. I can't even talk about these incidences with my wife. She gets nightmares from it, and I can't blame her. I myself had to see a therapist more than once just to get everything off my chest. And believe it or not, even during those conversations, despite confidentiality, my nursing home management knew what I had said word for word, even after I switched therapists. Strangely though, I didn't receive a warning or anything like that. Instead, they granted me paid special leave with immediate effect. This means that the vacation they gave me was fully paid, and after they informed me about the special leave, I could go home immediately, on the orders of the boss. In other nursing homes where I've worked, I would have expected a termination, or at least a warning, but not here. They only told me that I was a valued employee and that they were concerned for my mental health, so I should take 4 weeks off, a whole month off with full pay. If I decided to not come back at the end of the month, that would be okay, and they would provide me with a good work reference. Honestly, I was more than surprised, but let me know if you want to know what I did during that month off. Today I wanted to talk about something else. Last time I told you my first night shift and about Mr. Mayer, who died that night and then came to the nursing home to pack his suitcases. Today, I'm not sure if Melinda, one of the other night nurses, just succumbed to her alcohol problem. About 3 weeks before this happened to me, she was found in the duty room, having taken an overdose of morphine from the medicine cabinet, ending her life. Since my first night shift, my nursing home management had regularly scheduled me for night duty, and to be honest, I mostly welcomed it. I'm a night owl anyway, and it's not a problem for my wife either. When I go to work, she's still awake, and when I come back home, she's still sleeping. Then, around 1 p.m., I get up, and we spend the day together. In the evening, I go back to work. This worked quite well for a while. For almost 3 months, my night shifts were relatively calm, and between my rounds, I could sit in the duty room, do paperwork, listen to audiobooks, or sometimes even take a nap. As now I had 2 assistants assigned to me. Usually night nurses only had 1 assistant, but I got 2 because we have some residents who don't like being cared for by a man, and there were other complaints after my first night. On this particular night, everything was quiet as usual. I was sitting in the duty room playing Sly Cooper on my PS Vita when my station phone rang. It was Maria, one of my assistants.
Yes, Maria? What's going on?
I asked, as I put my Vita on standby and placed it on the table.
Mark, please come to room 405 immediately and call an ambulance. Mr. Dim.
Maria said, but then the connection suddenly cut off. There wasn't even a dial tone. I got up, ended the call, and tried to call an ambulance as I made my way to 405. No success. As soon as I pressed the call button on the phone, I didn't even hear the usual busy signal indicating that the line was occupied. The phone was completely dead, but I didn't worry too much about it. The phone system was old, and it often happened that it simply went offline. That's one of the reasons we were allowed to carry our cell phones with us. So I took out my cell phone from my pocket as I ran up the stairs to the 4th floor, unlocked the screen, and nothing. My phone not only had no signal, but it completely shut down after I unlocked the screen. Even my attempts to turn it back on yielded nothing. It was as if the battery was completely drained.
This is getting nowhere.
I thought to myself, deciding to simply ask Maria for her phone when I finally made it upstairs. Since I'd been on the ground floor, it wasn't easy, and the elevators were shut down at night. Therefore, I was quite out of breath when I reached the 4th floor and rushed straight to Mr. Dim's room.
Okay, Maria,
I began, but the remaining words got stuck in my throat. The room was empty. And I don't mean that there was just no one there. No, it was completely empty. No furniture, no beds, no pictures on the walls. The only thing that was still there was the thick black curtains that Mr. Dimms brought from home. They were, as usual at this time, drawn. Strangely, however, I felt like I had to open them, as if what was on the other side would give me answers about what was happening here. Unfortunately, I was right. As I forcibly opened the curtains, I stared into the eyes of a creature. There's no other way to describe it. It had pupils that looked almost like those of a cat, but in the shape of a cross. Its skin was leathery, and it seemed to be floating in the air as it cleaning the window with a squeegee. For a moment, at the sight of such a creature cleaning our windows, I almost burst into hysterical laughter, but then I saw what was behind it. The creature seemed to ignore me and continue to clean the windows, while I stared at the landscape behind it. Bright, flickering light flooded the room, and I saw volcanoes erupting in the distance. The sky was replaced by a canopy that reminded me of a cave. Amidst the countless streams of lava, I could see people being carried away by the molten rock, like a flood wave.
Get your hands off me, you damn critter!
I heard Maria scream, and I looked down at the parking lot. There I saw 3 of these creatures dragging Maria and Mr. Dimms behind them. Maria was a sturdy older woman who didn't take anything from anyone. Despite her age, she was very strong, and I had seen her carry residents from their beds to the bathroom more than once. Now, she was being dragged to the nearest lava stream by this creature, like a toddler throwing a tantrum. Her curses and insults were replaced by screams of pain as the creature threw her into the lava. Mr. Dimms seemed to have accepted his fate, but he also screamed as he was thrown in. The creatures turned to look at me, and in that moment I snapped out of my trance and admittedly wet my pants. Before I knew it, I was running as fast as I could. I opened every room door I found along the way, but all of them were empty. Had they all been taken by these beings? Was I the only one left? The home trembled with the steps of these beings. They were chasing me. I could hear and feel it. I was 100% sure I would die that night, but I wouldn't give up. I would at least try to get back to my wife. Then, I finally found a room that wasn't empty. Without realizing it, I had run all the way down to the basement of the home, and now stood in front of the chapel to hold vigils for deceased residents. The large cross still hung on the opposite wall, and everything was as I knew it. A loud noise like screeching metal caught my attention, and I looked down the hallway I had run along and saw 2 of these creatures prying open the doors of the elevator shaft. Their gaze was fixed on me almost instantly, and they ran towards me. Without thinking, I lunged into the chapel and closed the door behind me. My uniform was soaked with sweat, and my heart was beating so fast that I was pretty sure even if these creatures didn't catch me, I would have a heart attack. Minutes passed, but the creatures didn't try to break down the door. To be honest, it suddenly became eerily quiet until I heard a muffled clapping sound. I wasn't alone. A figure sat on one of the chairs in the front row of the small chapel. She stood up slowly, and at first I couldn't believe what I saw. It was my supervisor. Her blonde hair and black pantsuit looked, as always, perfect.
Well done, Mr. Grimwald. Go home, and take the rest of the week off. I'll handle the handover,
she said as she turned to me and, as if nothing unusual had happened, left the chapel. Hardly had she left the room when my phone rang, informing me a new Twitter post from someone I follow. My station phone also rang, telling me that a resident needed my assistance. I looked out of the window of the chapel, my heart still racing and tears streaming down my cheek as I saw the sunrise on the horizon. I went home and didn't respond to the doorbell. Damn, I didn't even change my clothes. I simply put the station phone on the reception desk and ran out of the home to my car. You may wonder why I still showed up for work the next month. Well, what can I say? 42 euros per hour plus bonuses. No one could beat that so far.